What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of the LivBtr Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ciano, CEO of Sabre Advisors. On today's episode, we have my friend, the one and only Liv Schreiber, the founder of Hot and Social and Camp Social. She has a community of over 200,000 engaged followers. She's a social media expert, and she started Hot and Social with the idea that everybody likes a party. So 100% of the people that arrive at her parties arrive solo, and they all leave as friends. She started Camp Social, which is exactly the same concept all around a camp setting that's an extended period of time. And that was tremendously successful for the first time this summer. We explore all different types of things, and you're going to love Liv. I hope you guys have a great time listening to this episode.
I just want to have peace. Pay for the bill, let them take my card, never see the receipt. Good health, we prize, but everybody around prosperity.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the LivBtr Podcast. This is your host, Jay Ciano, and this is the show for people trying to optimize every area of their life. Let's go.
I just want to have peace.
So on today's episode of the LivBtr Podcast, I have an awesome human that I can't wait to learn more about. I can't wait for everybody to learn more about. Liv Schreiber, welcome to the show.
Jay, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me.
This is going to be so fun.
I know. We have like 50 minutes of amazing, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't even know how we're going to start. You know, we've been chopping it up a little bit before the mic started rolling. And why don't we have to learn a little bit about where you're from and who you are. So let's just start there. Wherever you want, as early as you'd like to start.
I got you. Well, I was born a month early. No, I'm just kidding. I have a twin brother, and we grew up in New Jersey with 3 pet goats and a dog and 2 very entrepreneurial parents. So they have a handbag company, and one of my favorite games growing up was my mom would write out like pixie dust caterpillar, put 2 words together, and we would have to come up with either an invention like titled that name or come up with a drawing of that word. And so from a very young age, I was always thinking about how to innovate.
That's crazy.
Just with like pen and paper, and my parents were smart to do that.
That is such a cool exercise that I'm going to borrow.
Yes,
with my boys. I love that. That's such a, I mean, did you say pixie dust caterpillar? Yeah. So
I'm just kidding.
I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole there, and I don't want to get sidetracked. But so that's how you started your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, it was kind of always just I would watch, my dad and my mom working all the time, and how passionate they were. So my dad always said he was unemployable, which is why he had to start his own company.
Yeah. It's funny, though, because I was a great employee, didn't necessarily enjoy being one, but it was my job to be a great one, so I was.
Right, and I feel like every entrepreneur or leader should be a part of a team before they lead their own.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
Yeah,
I was always...
So where did you start in the business world?
Oh man, I graduated early from Wisconsin, a year early. I went to UW-Madison. I studied journalism, but I did not pay attention to anything. I loved my Holocaust class with Rachel Brenner, who was a survivor, who taught us. I learned so much in that class, and I had a great journalism teacher, Stacy Forster, who I love. Aside from that, I couldn't tell you what I learned.
Were you a big partier?
No, I don't even drink.
Yeah, never did?
I drank a little in college. I was social chair.
Yeah.
But I just love
social
people.
chair. I mean, that does not surprise me. But never really a partier. Just, social, having a good time.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, you go to Wisconsin and you are a party. You're going out.
I went to Arizona.
Right.
I mean,
you're going out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
If that.
No, we did not. We did not take breaks.
No.
It's funny, actually, my friends would come to our school for their spring breaks. And that was like a normal schedule for us. And then we'd leave they'd leave and we'd go on our real spring break. And I don't know how we survived, but we did. So let's talk about Hot and Social.
Yes.
What is it?
So I graduated and I moved to New York, and I went and got my realtor license, and I was working in real estate on a broker team on quite a few of them, actually, in residential,
lots of fun.
corporate, and
Easy
fun,
stuff.
Great, fun stuff. But it didn't feel, when you introduce yourself and it doesn't align with your energy, like saying, "Hi, I'm Liv Schreiber, I'm a broker," just did not sit right with me. So I was really lonely when I moved to New York because I didn't know anyone. I was 21. All my friends were spending their senior year in Madison, Wisconsin.
Sure.
And it was my bonus year, but I was jealous of people on the street who had plans.
Yeah.
And that's a really low place to be at in your life.
Isn't that crazy though? Like I can't, with your spark and energy and just, your personality, I could never envision you feeling that way. But I think it's so important to like focus on the fact that everybody, regardless of, how social and how outgoing you are, can feel that way.
100%. And they also, a lot of people say, or quotes say, that like the happiest people know how low you can get.
Yeah. And
like a lot of the strongest people have been very weak. So
I would agree with that.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I was low, and I met people by talking to them on the street. I started a marketing agency because I fell in love with the idea that I could connect to people around the world. I love humans more than anything.
Yeah.
So like I got so jazzed up getting to DM with people from different countries all before 9 a.m.
Yeah. Wow.
On my Instagram. And then I started thinking, how could I connect this girl to this guy, because I was messaging so many cool people. And I started Hot and Social because my twin brother was single, and I wanted to throw a party, and I called it Hot and Single because I have a lot of female followers. I don't have boobs or a butt. So I was like, let's have a party and everyone come by yourself so that we can make new friends. And the party was a success. And so I changed it to Hot and Social because I didn't want people to think that making friends is something based off your relationship status.
Sure.
But as an entrepreneur from a young age, I never intended for this to become what it is, which is the funniest thing.
I think that's where you have something that's special, right? And I think the fact that you're making an impact, a positive impact on people's lives, I'm sure makes it a lot of fun, even though it's a lot of hard work.
I mean, just when people sell products, I feel like they get a sense of excitement because they see the final thing that is ending up in people's hands and improving their lives. And so I never was into designing bags. I never wanted to go into my family business. But getting to reap the rewards of seeing people connect,
sure,
like this morning at our Hot and Social workout, that is my purpose. Like, it feels beautiful.
Yeah, and it happens so naturally. So we met on a sidewalk through Ann Malum, a mutual close friend.
Shout out Ann. You rock.
And Ann and I had just wrapped up Othership with Kenny Santucci. And I think I introduced them for the first, I introduced them for the first time. So we were sitting down eating on the sidewalk with Ann's husband, Brett, as well. And you walked in, right? Or you walked up and we're going in, and we all met there. And I'm saying all of this because as a result of that encounter, so many things have happened, which I think you and I are very similar, where when we meet exciting, interesting people that we want to know more, we connect, and then we connect, we continue to connect. And your workout this morning was with Kenny Santucci, which I think is so amazing. Like, I feel partially responsible.
You are fully responsible for that.
That's amazing. Like, that's so cool.
Yes, we had around 40 people show up this morning, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and we're doing workouts with Kenny for the entire month of August because I, like I said, don't have a butt. And I'm hosting this giant camp for 500 women called Camp Social.
Camp Social?
August 23rd to the 25th. Do you want to come?
I would love to. I think it would be amazing. I would love to.
Boys aren't allowed, but Kenny's coming to teach.
Kenny's allowed?
You're allowed.
Yeah, I would Where is it?
It's in the Poconos.
Where do people get more information on this?
It's sold out.
Wow.
So I'm only extending invites to my dearest.
Amazing. Great news, though. It's sold out. And is the first one.
It's our second camp
second
social.
one. Okay.
So Hot and Social just spiraled into something I never would have dreamed of. So what it is we have monthly girl-guy dinners.
Sure.
So everyone comes solo, 25 girls, 25 guys.
I wish that existed when I was younger. Like so needed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was never, you just went out and like, you know, like I feel like that's such a great idea.
It's good to have a balance, you know, like don't depend on Hot and Social for everything and don't depend on your social life to fulfill your every need. Like take what you feel is the best formula socially and mentally for you. And you keep adding to it.
When I was young and single living in New York City, I also was going through a lot personally with the loss of my mother. She was sick right after college. Like she was very sick and then she passed away. And it was like the worst time ever for obvious reasons. But like the city's a fucking lonely place if you're not connected, if you're, you know. And I was very connected. I was in the nightclub world and so on and so forth. But you just feel so alone. Like it could be such a lonely place. You were talking about that yourself.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to hear about that.
Thank you. That's not the point of this discussion, but
no, but it is. It is, right?
Yeah,
it is because you're at this really awful point in your life. You never thought you could get more low than you are in that moment, and like, you know, you have your going out friends, but are they friends? There are different types of friends for different reasons and seasons and things.
Yeah,
and so you need to make sure that you curate even if it's one person that you have, that you can call them at 3 a.m. and you know they're going to be there at your door in 2 seconds. Like, it's really important to have different categories of friends.
Yeah. I think it's even, I don't want to say more challenging now for younger generations because obviously you have access to so many people and you can communicate with people on social media platforms and things of that nature, and being able to decipher a true friend is, you know, probably I would assume a little bit more challenging now because when I was your age, it wasn't that way.
Right, because you're like, that's my boy. We've hung out 20 times. You may not have any pictures together, but that doesn't matter. Now it's like, do you have pictures with this person?
Yeah.
How many times are you hanging out? And what depth of a hangout are you having?
Right.
And then you see them pop up on your Instagram all day long, where I've had this happen. People think that they're my BFF.
I'm sure, yeah.
And
because who wouldn't want to be your BFF?
No, I'm honored. I would love to be anyone's BFF.
I know, that's what's so great about it.
No, but I think I'm very close to someone because I see what they're doing all day, and then you kind of step back and you realize,
how well do I actually know this person?
Wait, yeah. So it's a little bit of a
mind fuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
It's a great term.
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, just in case
Yeah.
I'll stick my neck out with the F-bomb. So Hot and Social's how old now?
2.
2 years.
She's a baby.
And tell me about your marketing business.
So a lot of what we do at Hot and Social comes from my experience with Brand Caffeine, which is my twin brother and my marketing agency, which has been around since 2019. And
which is how you met Anne initially?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we were doing a secret project for Anne. And we do little secret projects for different entrepreneurs in the space.
So cool.
It's great. It allows me to get the chance to be behind the scenes and to use strategy to help other people build their businesses, whether it's fitness companies or real estate brands or brokers. That's our specialty. So we teach people how to say, what to say, and how to say it on camera, and then we post and create that content for them. So
important in today's world, being in the commercial real estate space and being one of the very few people that leaned into social at this point. I don't even know how long, 8 years ago, maybe 7-8 years ago. it's so nice to see it being more widely accepted. Definitely on the residential side. By the way, shout out to Owning Manhattan. That was great. Ryan's obviously a homie, and I was actually in a meeting with Jessica yesterday, Markowski, who's one of the main characters, and it was so great seeing you. I literally jumped on the couch this weekend and just put on an episode. I'm like watching one a weekend, basically, and it was so great to see you on there. How fun!
It was fun. I got to
that apartment was.
Oh, it's I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, so. It still hasn't sold. There you go.
I knew that. And it's public information.
I think it's public. I didn't spoil it. I hope we didn't spoil it.
No, you did not.
You can write in the show notes below if I spoiled it. I'm sorry. It was great. Niles is so awesome, and they brought me on as someone to hopefully connect them to someone to buy the
which makes so much
house.
Sense.
The
most connected person on the planet.
That's you, Jay. That's not me. That's all you. That's not me. But it was really cool to see how people can live and what sky's the limit means, and to see that wow, someone could afford this $245 million. Was it $245 million? This $245 million penthouse in the sky. It allows you to open up your own mind no matter what you're doing and think, wow, I could get there. You could get there. That's really it's cool to be in a space that encourages you to think bigger.
That's a good segue. So what is the definition of happiness to you?
If I could immediately answer it, it's internal hum. It's this internal, I'm not going to say peace, because like even in my walk over here, I got on 5 calls and
there's no such thing as peace.
Shit's hitting the fan at all seconds, and you got to roll with it when you run your own business. You know that.
Of course.
It's the business of people. And
by the way, I walked in the studio, and this is not the typical studio that we record.
Oh, really?
So I walked in, and my producer who runs everything, I texted her. I'm like, the studio is not set up. And she's like, what do you mean? Da, da, da. And one of the people here was like, no, you're booked for 1 o'clock. I'm like, and all I do is pride myself on staying completely neutral. Like mental toughness to me is absolutely everything.
Right.
And I think it's the only thing that allows you to be an entrepreneur and not go off the deep end.
Yeah. Because the amount of things that happen
of course.
In a given day where like we just had to deal with someone, their stock is not available. Got to switch, got to turn, got to pivot.
Yeah.
That's life.
Resourcefulness.
Yeah. And so you just kind of have to be like, all right, no worries. How can we be solution focused so that we can get as much done in a day and make people feel good, whether stuff is bad or good? So that's happiness to me, is that internal hum that keeps you stable throughout everything else that goes on.
How would you define success?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I want to hear your definition of success. I would say my definition of success is self-fulfilled. It's to each their own in terms of success, and what that definition is to you can change by the month.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself really happy, probably married. I see myself hopefully in a new stage of life where I'm able to potentially expand what I'm doing in multiple different locations. And I have a vision, but I heard once that you're not supposed to say it out loud, because if you say it out loud, it almost tricks your brain into thinking that you've accomplished it.
Interesting.
So I don't know if that's true. We'll have to fact check it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to do what feels right for you, because being a deal maker, like I definitely do not talk about deals before they're completely finished and signed, sealed, and delivered, and so I get that. But I think on some level, that goes against manifestation. Right.
And you do want to talk about it.
But I also have an interesting relationship with manifestation, because being that I've had to will my way into everything I've ever done. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could just say something and it happens. So, you know, I think you have to believe in all of those things. But it's the work that you put behind the vision that ultimately decides or determines. Yeah, there's timing and luck and all other variables, but I think you got to work your face off all day, every day in order to be successful.
And what's your definition of success?
It changes as I get older, but I mean, the most important thing to me is at this stage of my life is how my children, you know, how they ultimately turn out. And, you know, I think that's everything else, you know, as you start to like achieve other things along the way, it becomes more about like building little humans, you know, that are I'm entirely responsible for and are a reflection on me, you know? So it's really a happy family, you know, I think is, but peace and, you know, fulfillment and those things. And I struggle with material things, you know, which is interesting because I love nice things, but I also believe in delayed gratification. So I kind of like, you know, it's interesting as I'm approaching 50 because I told somebody yesterday exactly what I'm telling you. And he's like 10 years younger than me. And he's like, dude, like buy that really nice sports car now. I mean, you don't know how much longer you have here to enjoy something like that. And I'm like, that's really nice, A. And B, I hear you, but I feel like you can't give in to, you know, all of your materialistic desires because that's not necessarily going to give me happiness long term. I'm a car guy. So like I love cars and toys and motorcycles and all the things. So, but I do realize that it's like instant gratification when I get the thing that I want. Right. And it goes away like 3 months from like when I get it. And then I'm like, now I have this additional bill that I don't need.
And you're like, you know, at the end of the day, even, you know, experiencing some big deals close in the past few years of my journey, when I'm standing next to a girl decked out in designer clothes and I'm just like chilling in jeans and a white tee, not having to prove anything. Yeah. To me, that is like when I am the happiest. Yeah. Because not having to brag or make a scene and just being cool and keeping it low key and not having anything fancy on, there's something about it that like brings a sparkle to my eye where it's like, I'll drive my Toyota truck. Like, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Yeah. And it's that quiet confidence, like you were saying with the delayed gratification, that actually gets me really jazzed up and excited.
Yeah. You feel like you're not relying on other things to attach to yourself. Right. To give people an impression of whether you're worthy of their attention.
Right. And it's
something
cool.
Like that.
It's cool. It's being a mystery and it's keeping it to yourself and being humble and then you channel that excitement into your work even more. Yeah. You know, I have great mentors who are billionaires, Jesse and Sarah, and like they could care less. Sarah, I was her stylist, Sarah Blakely, for a while, and her favorite clothing that she loved was from Zara that I got from her as her stylist when I was 21. And like, that's so cool. Jesse, you won't see him in a pimped out car or even on a private jet, even though that was his whole business. It's interesting.
It is. And that's very admirable, you know, but the way they live is super unique. And I love both of them.
And they remind me of you and you remind me of them.
Well, that's a very, very nice compliment. And how did you link up with Sarah? See, this is, we could learn from this.
It was 2019 and I was so excited by her story. I heard it on Guy Raz, the podcast. Of course. And
How I Built This.
Yes, How I Built This.
I love that podcast.
Great podcast. Yeah. And I used to listen when I was working out or walking to and from the subway. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to slide into her DMs. I had like 10,000 followers at the time. It was not a big deal. I was not an influencer. I was just a girl out of college. And Jesse, her husband, I noticed was more accessible on Instagram. So I thought, why not DM Jesse Itzler every single morning? Have a great day. That's it.
This is the best story ever. That's it.
Every day for almost a year.
Stop.
Have a great day. You're crushing it. Nothing else. I want anything in return.
That is so amazing.
And it got to a point where he's like, hi, thanks. And I'm like, you got it. Have a great one. And I was...
Dude, this speaks volumes about you as a person.
No, I just was like, it's Instagram. This is the Wild West. We are so lucky.
What year is this?
2019.
Okay.
We're so lucky to be, 2019, to be able to connect with anyone. Oh my gosh, to be able to contact someone enough to where they know you exist.
Yeah, but you're not like an intimidating human that's like, you're right? Like it's although he could probably be like, what does this girl want from me? Yeah. Right? Like I'm scared.
Yeah.
Like,
I would think, who is this weirdo?
Who the hell's dedicating like
what the heck?
Every morning of their life?
Is this a robot?
So all right, I need to know more. So he responds and then what?
So he's like, hey, what's up? I'm like, yeah, have a great day. That's all I have to say. And
I didn't go in for
anything because I didn't know what I wanted.
Right.
So I just was like, you know what? I'm just gonna build up a rapport. And it was just genuine. I was just like, you're crushing it. Would comment on some stuff. And then it got to a point where I got fired, half quit my real estate job because I was not the right fit. I was building a business under my desk, like branding people. Should be. And I was like on my way to a Google interview in my bathroom, which is like literally this big. I lived in like, my apartment was not even the size of this room. And I have my resume under my arm and I'm about to head out the door and I get a DM from Jesse and he says, you live in New York, right? And I go, yeah. And he goes, do you know where to shop for guys in New York City? Because like it was a little fashionista, as all girls are. And I'm like, and I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, where do guys shop in New York? I'm 21. I have no clue what I'm doing. She's like, Liv, Google it. Like, I don't know. I'm like, okay. So I Google it and up pops the list. I send him the list. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm literally on the toilet. Sorry, TMI. But I'm like, oh my God, I should just offer to shop for him.
Right.
And so I saw my life diverging in two paths. I had my Google resume there. I was on my way to the interview.
That's amazing.
I say to Jesse, why don't I just shop for you?
You sent the list already?
I sent the list already, and I said, why don't I just shop for you?
Yeah.
Can't take back my mistakes,
right.
So I'm just going to follow up. He goes, great. And in my head, I'm like, okay, I have my interview. Maybe you'll ask me to come next week or next month. He goes, want to meet me in 20 minutes?
That's how it works.
And I just made a decision and I sprinted to Staples because I already had printed out my resume for Google. I type in Jesse Itzler. I type in a few words that I know he would love to change it from Google to Jesse. I sprint uptown, pay for an Uber that cost so much money at the time because I had nothing, and sit down. And he's like, what's up?
Sit down where?
Sit down at a juice press. And he's like, you want an acai bowl? Because he has this whole thing, only eat fruit till noon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I just want to shop for you. Like, what's the deal? He goes, no, tell me about you. Like, who are you? What are you?
Why the hell have you DM'd me every day for a year? I need to know more about this human.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm honored he even wants to know my name.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big part of who he is and how he got where he is. Right.
But you know what, Jay? When you see people on Instagram, it's not always who they are in real life.
Sure.
And they say never meet your heroes. So like, who am I to expect anything of anyone?
Yeah.
Totally. And so the fact that he is who he says he is dope.
Yeah.
And he
but
goes,
it's so crazy that story actually is about Jesse, because I feel like what you did is exactly what he does.
yeah.
And that's why he responded to you, right? Because like he will create opportunities and like do the craziest thing to put himself in a position to win.
And we can all be that person.
For sure. The same way, and this is a tangent that I'm going on because I want to pick your brain. I hate that term, but I want to I want to ask your advice on something unrelated. But I believe, like at my age, I keep hearing the term midlife and like the concept of midlife crisis and so on and so forth. And for me, my life, regardless of like the lows and losing my mom and things of that nature, I've continuously evolved and progressed as a human, thank God, because I would no longer be married. I would not be who I am today if I did not. And I truly believe that you could just keep getting better and better and better until you die.
Yes.
And the concept of midlife and the midlife crisis is the whole over the hill thing, where you go up and then obviously at a certain point start going down, and it just makes no sense to me. But you just said anybody can do what you did, and I've been talking to a lot of people that I hold in very high regard about this concept because I'm writing a book, and this is like a thing now, right? So I'm like really excited about it, but I also don't understand how not everybody thinks this way.
Right.
But I think it's just because of my state of mind and the fact that doing hard things and having discipline and holding yourself accountable and all the things ultimately lead to this type of a life and an outcome where you could truly say, I'm fitter, I feel better, I'm all, I have more money, I'm more successful, whatever the hell that means, than I ever was, which makes sense because the longer you're doing something, hopefully the better you get at it.
Right. But it's a choice every day. Like, I could wake up and be in a bad mood and not make it to the workout class. But
are you wired like a certain way innately where you're generally a positive human?
Yes.
100%. I know that already.
And I was raised that way too.
Yeah, me too.
But I think when people are not as lucky and don't come from home environments where they're told they can accomplish anything and where they see a role model or they see their parents working out in their 60s or their 70s, where I see my 88-year-old grandpa tap dancing on FaceTime every night.
That.
Like, I'm blessed to have that. But when you don't, you have to be your own mom, dad, grandpa, teacher, and that's when we look to people, and I think social media can be a tool to help people find you, where you can say to them, listen, you can choose to evolve and you can choose to be the best version of yourself. You don't have to be average, or you don't have to be below average in terms of excitement over life. So I do think even if you are wired to be positive, you still got to work at it, no matter who you are.
Yeah. It's interesting because I believe that's very true, and my experience having, it sounds like a very similar family setting to you. You have one sibling?
Yeah.
Same with me, and I have a sister. But when my mom passed away, that entire experience went away because my dad just moved, got remarried. Like it was completely in my early 20s, went from like having the perfect family life support system to literally having nobody. My sister's amazing and kind of morphed into my mom. Still tries to be my mom on some level, which is awesome. And then my dad passed away recently in December. So now I'm fucking parentless. But it's so, and I think that's what you just said is interesting, because I had to continue on and create that same environment for myself with other amazing humans around me, obviously, that are a support system. but without that rock that you're so used to having.
Right.
So at least I had that and was able to kind of figure out how to continue that.
Right.
But for people who never had it, maybe that's the difference.
Well, first of all, I'm really sorry about your loss. And
thank you.
That's so unimaginable. And I can't imagine what you're going through every day with that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
This is my grandpa's watch who passed away. He was 92 and he gave me this. And the reason I wear it every day is because even if people aren't around us anymore, like energy lives on.
Yeah.
And so even if our accountability partners aren't here anymore, to have them and you know that they're around if you believe in that stuff, or you know that that's what they would want for you, is just to continue with the lessons that they gave you and their heart, and to speak about them and continue. I'm Jewish, so we believe that just continuing to talk about people keeps them alive.
Yeah, love that.
You know, that you keep them alive in every single action that you do.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is. When you said that anybody can do what you did with Jesse, can you explain that? What exactly is it? Like, what can somebody do to put them to create the opportunity that you created for yourself?
If you're a visual person, just think of your life as like a piece of clay, like smacked on that wheel. And I'm not saying I'm good at clay. I'm not. I'm definitely
no pottery for you?
A little too ADD. It'll morph into, I don't follow rules very well. But if you look at your life like a giant slab that you can turn into whatever you want at any time, every single day.
Yeah. And
you get to add new people to it, like little gemstones, and you get to paint it whatever color you want. It's so exciting to think of the limitless life and possibilities that we are so blessed to have. So anyone can reach out to people they admire, or to jobs that they want or brands that they want to work for. Who cares if they have a LinkedIn listing? Go a separate route that other people are not going to take and find that. And usually it's through social media, DMs, you know, liking people's things or commenting and showing you support them. That's how magic happens. You know?
And do you guys assist with that? Like, is that a service that you guys offer as well?
I personally coach some people.
Yeah.
I'm not a life coach. I just help people try to figure it out. Same way we're all figuring it out.
Yeah.
But for our social media, for Brand Caffeine, yes, we run engagement, and you know, you tell us you want someone targeted every day, we got you covered.
Yeah, that's amazing. You wanted to ask me some questions.
I do want to ask you questions. So I want to know a few things. So I want to know about your boys. I want to know like what your main driver of motivation is for them. Like, how do you teach them that same hustle and that same energy that you have?
By spending time with them, right? So there's, I think, modeling as a result of that. Mm-hmm. It's being a parent is very challenging, and regardless of, you know, the fact, like, I think proximity is power. And I use it so much in my life where I surround myself with people that I want to be more like, right? That are further ahead than me at certain things. So I'm very mindful of what exactly I should be doing in their presence to give them the perception that their dad's a certain way. Now, I always say that perception ultimately becomes reality. And I'm very visual, so I've visualized like how I want to build myself in the future, like from a young age, basically. And that's essentially how I've created goals for myself, and even visualized like what I look like. Like, I put myself together in a way where, you know, looking back, like during COVID, I'm also very creative. So like I remember vividly being on a Stairmaster at the gym during COVID, and it was like at the tail end. And I'm like, you know, I want to have a beard. And this was after dyeing my hair platinum white, like at the height of COVID, right? And just kind of like, I love playing with things like that because ultimately I feel like we create our own identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that a lot of our identity as a child is the result of the environment that you're in, right? And I'll give you an example. Like I was very overweight as a kid, struggled with weight my whole life. And my parents absolutely loved me and wanted me to be the happiest I could possibly be. But they fed me McDonald's from like, morning till night and so on and so forth. So the fact that I was overweight as a kid, I just felt like I was an overweight person and would struggle with my weight forever.
Wow.
That I could never be anything other than that, right? Like that identity was almost given to me based on the nutritional value of the food that I was being given, that I didn't have a choice, right?
Right.
So, and then I realized like, wait a minute, when I started changing the things, and even when my dad told me when I lost weight, you'll never keep it off, you'll never this, you'll never that, it became like me now needing to prove him wrong, and then struggling with, am I proving him wrong, or am I, doing this for myself, so I'm always really trying to be mindful of that struggle that I have within myself, right? But I don't have to prove anything to my dad anymore. He's not here, right? So even in business early on in real estate, my dad's not supporting me. I'm fending for myself entirely, which I think was, there were times I was so mad and like
same thing happened to me.
Him, for those things. But I wouldn't be like a fraction of who I am today if I didn't struggle the way that I did, you know? But I dealt with like crazy anger issues and drinking a lot. And, I even spoke to my wife this morning and I said, you might not realize this, but I tell people sometimes that I couldn't have taken on all the things that I did at the same time without alcohol, and I feel that way. Like early on when I started Sabre in 2011 and we had our first child in 2011 and like all of those things, I was just numbing myself to like deal with all of the stress in a normal day entirely. But it's not, and now since I'm sober for, 2+ years at this point, it's like, I realized that I went on so much of my life I was numb for intentionally because I love the feeling of being numb.
Whoa.
But I'm only realizing that's not normal now.
Right.
And that's where like my book for me is, I think there's a lot of people that are very unhappy and trying to escape their lives. And being one of them, and getting on the other side of that, I feel like a big part of my purpose and a big reason for the tragedies that I've dealt with are to help other people that are struggling.
Mic drop. I don't even know what to say after that. I mean, that's amazing and incredible. And how did you, I'm sorry if this is TMI, how did you know when to stop?
I was just being destructive, but I also feel like my personality is such where I self-sabotage, because I love excitement. So it's like, part of me, I was always, in a group of crazy people, the craziest, like that type of thing. And that was very much, a badge of honor through college, through high school, through college, through, being cool. That crew's crazy.
Yeah.
Jay's on a different level, like was a proud thing. Like in my fraternity, I was the pledge master. I was the, just the one that was always like wrecking havoc on some level. And, drinking was a big part of that. Like if somebody did things that weren't normal, I'm not even proud of. Like I would do a 6-beer funnel, like at once. Like, I don't know how I didn't die young, to be honest. I really don't.
That's wild.
And that's not even like a fraction of the things.
Right.
And I struggle with in a book, like these are things my children will learn, like how much of that am I willing to share? But now, like my kids, I said to them one day, like, I'm never going to drink again. And you will never see me with a drink again. And I never had a drink again. And that was just it. It was just it was the easiest thing once those words came out of my mouth. And by the way, my kids, it wasn't like I was a normal dad and normal dads drink.
Right.
And, you know, get hammered on a Saturday night and they're fine on a Tuesday night and blah, blah, blah. You know, so I still struggle with like, was I an alcoholic? Am I an alcoholic? I don't know, because everybody I know that I grew up with and I'm still super close to are me 5 years ago still.
Wow.
Everybody. So it's like, I don't know if I'm, you know, again, I don't know how deep that shit is, but I'm just tackling, you know, my demons one day at a time.
And what was their reaction to you kind of becoming the lesser crazy?
Who? My family,
your
friends, or
in that
not wanting to
group?
hang out with me as much, you know?
Yeah.
Like, meaning, not that they don't want to, everybody, like, I'm so blessed to have an amazing group of amazing humans. But it's just different now, you know? Like, it's just, for me, I mean, I'm so boring that my wife, like, thinks I'm, like, really boring.
No.
She actually said that recently. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'd rather be, like, primed and fucking ready for tomorrow. Like, and that's just how I live every day. And I feel like I'm making up for lost time, you know, because I slept, you know, I slept till 5, 6 p.m.
No way.
For real, for probably a solid 4 or 5 years.
What, like on a weekend?
No, every day. I would party every night and DJ. I would be up till sunrise. Every day of college, I was up till sunrise.
No way.
Yeah.
And then you'd wake up at 5.
Yeah. I'd sleep all day and do it over again.
That is, you're a night animal. You're like a raccoon.
100%.
You were a raccoon.
And now I'm the complete opposite.
You were a raccoon.
And by the way, my wife would give me grief for all of the things. Like, all you want to do is party. You want to go out. You want this. You want that. And now it's the complete opposite, where I'm so dialed in.
All you want to do is sauna and cold
It's all
plunge.
I want to do. And it's like, I feel fucking amazing.
Wow.
I feel superhuman. And I want everybody else to feel that way.
And how did you stay consistent? Like, what's your advice?
I mean, I'm such a disciplined person that, like, you know, if I put my mind to something.
But like day 2.
Yeah, that's a great question. Day 2.
Because that first, I'm gluten-free, and like the first month I was, even though I'm disciplined, like that was so hard.
Yeah, but alcohol is different. Like, when you feel like you're actually ruining your life and the life of other people around you, it's very low. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark. So it's like, and you don't change until, you know, there's a day where you're like, I can't do this anymore, you know?
Right.
So it's like, you know, and then, and you just, by the way, that's a multi-year process of like, even trying to tell my friends, like, I'm not drinking this. This is what I would do. This is my secret. I would implement some sort of fitness challenge into my life. So like 75 Hard's a great example, where I would have my best friend's birthday and I'd be like, I'm 22 days into 75 Hard. Dude, whatever, we're going out, da 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 da. I hear you, but no, I'm not starting over. Like, this is for me, you know? And it got to a point where they would stop, you know, trying to like push it. So it was really even like just doing those things to justify, like, I'm here now and I'm hanging out and I'm, you know, I of course, there's no place else I'd rather be, but I'm not having the drink with you, you know?
You know, I love that. I just had my first drink after 4 years of not drinking.
Amazing.
Last weekend it was sake. It had 4 ingredients. Sake, oh no, shout out. But I, like you, just felt like I was a worse person when I drank. So after college, there was just one day where I was like, I'm just not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I just never did. But because I'm out all the time and hosting parties and events.
That's why I asked you.
So I don't drink, but I call myself now an in-betweener.
Yeah.
Because like, I will have a sip every once in a while or every 6 months or whatnot. Yeah. But I think the peer pressure, like you're saying, is so annoying. I mean, and most of the time it comes not from girls, but from insecure guys. Yeah. That's always what I find. They're like, you're not going to have a drink? Why not? You sure? I'm like, no, water with lemon is good.
Well, I think it's manipulative.
Yeah.
And I think that people are actually intentionally being manipulative and using alcohol as a tool.
Yeah.
So which makes sense. But I feel bad for, a lot of people in relationships, with people that are just don't want to change,
Right.
for the better of their family, and I think
Wow.
that there's so many people, like I said, I hate to say it, and fortunately through all of the things that I'm just doing in my life, like, my tribe finds me now where it's, I'm just surrounded by like amazing people that are doing really trying to get the most out of life. And when you bring like all of these things back to like people you care about, they can embrace them or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, it is what it is. Like I
Right.
can't, I'm almost at an extreme of wanting to sharpen my axe as much as possible. And you just have to like understand there's going to be times that you're just not doing that, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to maintain friendships and,
Right.
which are very important too.
Jay, you're so cool. You would like this quote. It's, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. And I feel like that is very fitting.
I love
for
that
you.
quote. I've seen it and I agree with it. And yeah, I think these are all like really interesting conversations that, if I would have learned some of this stuff earlier in life, I'd be so much further. I have no regrets. I think that all of the bumps and bruises along the way are fucking amazing. Like I wouldn't have a lot of great stories if it wasn't for how I operated, up till about 40 when everything changed for me.
I love it. And you can change it anytime.
You can. So what's next for you?
Oh boy, we have Camp Social, August 23rd to the 25th. We've tripled in size since last summer. So it's a camp for all women in their 20s to 50s, 60s.
Tell me about like the programming a little bit. Like what goes on at Camp Social?
It is sleepaway camp.
Yeah.
It is
That's
literally
so awesome.
exactly what I experienced as a kid. I just, over the summers as an adult, was like, I can't believe this is over. This sucks that I don't get to go back to camp and meet people from around the world and put my phone away and jump in the lake. And
How far are people coming from?
we have people coming from South Africa,
No
England,
way.
Israel,
Really?
South America,
That's sick.
California, Ohio, Arkansas, Alabama, New York,
That is so crazy.
Canada.
It's so necessary. Like I need something like that.
You're coming to camp.
I mean, I would absolutely love to.
We'll talk about it.
We're going to talk about it. But that, I mean, it's so. Are you allowed to have your devices?
So you can bring your phones, and that's fine. We have everyone put them in the bunks, and I have counselors. Like this is legit camp. You're grouped in by age. All the bunks go from 22 years old up to 40-year-old women in bunks together. And my counselors are really responsible for sharing with the girls. And, we share it on our social media, which people watch and pay attention to at Camp Social. It's just the fact that you're going to get the most out of any experience in life if your phone is out of sight, not on the table,
right? Out
of sight.
Right.
There's actually stats that prove when a device is in front of you, even when it's on the table.
At that. Like I'm terrible.
You got to take it off the table because it actually prevents you from having deeper connection.
For sure.
Which is an interesting little psychology tidbit. But the girls put away their phones and we have the best time.
And is there like a workout? Like,
oh yeah,
you doing meditation?
Oh,
like what
you would love
on?
the mornings.
Yeah.
We have sunrise yoga. We
Amazing.
have with Hemp's sponsoring sunrise yoga. We have sunrise hike with Eddie Bauer. They're providing all these little hiking bags. We have a sunrise cold plunge off a water slide with hot chocolate after.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
We have yoga. We have workouts with Kenny Santucci, who will be such a stud at camp. And then we go into daily activities. So everything from, rock climbing to lake paddleboarding, boating, fitness, dance, meditation, journaling. If you're not an athlete, that's fine.
Yeah.
Every single girl gets to create her own experience. Tie-dye, crafts.
Will you do like other retreats also, like destination type retreats? Do you do that, or is that on the horizon?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Okay, good answer. Good answer. We're at 0 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
That went fast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation.
Thank you so much. You're so awesome.
You are. Right back at you.
I think we have to do a part 2, and I can interview you fully.
Fair.
Okay.
Would love that.
Done. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Boom.
You're awesome. Thank you.
I just wanna have peace. Pay for the bill, let them take my card, never see the receipt. Good health, we prize, but everybody around prosperity. I just wanna have peace.